Hello, and welcome to the Night Sky Reader. I'm here with a story to help you relax, meditate, or gently drift to sleep. Tonight, The Water Ladder of Rice Terraces. Settle in, close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin. My hand slides into cool mud and lifts the thin gate free, and the first silver rush spills into the waiting terrace. The water has been holding behind packed earth all afternoon, patient and heavy, and now it finds its release. I hear the change before I see it, a low note deepening into a chuckle as the stream widens, then the soft collision where the waiting paddy receives it. The surface shivers, spreads, and begins to hold what is left of the sky. There is still a great deal of light, pale gold at the ridge, deeper amber where the mountain folds into itself, the first suggestion of blue rising from the valley below. The flooded terrace takes all of it in. Clouds drift across the water's surface, softer than the real ones, wavering at the edges where a grain of silt catches and disturbs. I watch until the reflection steadies, the mountain, reversed and quieted. I should not count what remains to do. I know this the way I know the slope of every bund on this hillside, but knowing has never been enough to stop the counting. My hand tightens on the cedar paddle, and my mind begins its old arithmetic. 7 terraces below this one, the narrowing path, the light already slipping toward something more like dust. I want to be ahead of the water, to lift the next gate before this field has even finished filling, to outpace the dusk itself. But the water will not be hurried. It is teaching a slower measure now, terrace by terrace, and I am only beginning to understand what that means. I wait until the surface stills, glassing over with the pale evening sky, and then I shoulder the paddle and take the narrow path down. The bund between fields is packed earth, warm still from the day's heat but cooling at the edges where the shadow has reached. To my left, the terrace I just filled holds its level, the overflow not yet ready. To my right, the next paddy waits, its rice stems standing in neat rows, the soil still dark and thirsty from a long afternoon without water. The second gate is smaller, set lower into the wall. I kneel to reach it, and my fingers find a clod of grass and silt narrowing the entry channel. The water would have found a way through eventually, but it would have spread sideways and softened the bank, made a muddy confusion where there should be a clean line. I work the clog free carefully, feeling the texture of wet root and earth, the cool seep between my knuckles. When the channel is clear, I lift the gate. The water enters quietly here, the sound lower, more intimate. It seeks the low corners first, following the subtle geometry of the paddy floor before it begins to rise. I notice the way it moves, how it feels along the edges before committing to the center, how it makes decisions the way water always does, without hesitation, without error. I want to move on. I can feel the later terraces waiting, a chain of need somewhere at the back of my attention, but something holds me kneeling on the cool earth. I remember a field hand from years back, or perhaps it was someone's father, crouching over a channel not unlike this one. Wait until it shows you. I stay. The water rises, the light changes, and then I see it, a thin bright line forming at the far lip, a thread that thickens into a ribbon and slips over into the cup below. The terrace has shown me what it needed. I stand slowly, my knees stiff, my sandals pressing into mud, and I follow the silver thread down. The third and fourth terraces come closer together, the path steeper, the earthen walls rising higher on either side. I notice the handwork more carefully here. Finger-smoothed repairs along the upper face where a crack formed and was packed shut again, a corner reinforced with a flat stone pressed just below the waterline, the gentle inward slope of each lip shaped by hand to let the water spill without cutting. These are not long finished things. They are living craftsmanship tended each season, repaired when they soften, remade when they slip. My passing tonight is part of that continuity. The paddle I carry belonged to someone else before me. At the fourth gate, the wood has swollen in its niche. I feel the resistance when I pull and I stop. I take the cedar paddle and ease it into the gap, gently, working the gate free in small increments rather than yanking. The wood gives with a sound something like a sigh, low and unhurried. Water finds the notch slowly, testing, and then takes hold and pours. I run my open palm along the berm, feeling where the mud is still soft from a recent repair, cooler and more yielding than the older pack beside it. The path levels and widens, and I come to the middle terrace. It is broader than the others, a wide, shallow bowl that will take the water a long time to fill. I open the gate and stay beside it. There is nothing visible from here to the next cut below, not yet, and nothing useful I can do except wait. I find a flat stone at the field's edge, still holding something of the day's warmth, though the evening air is taking it back steadily, one breath at a time. I sit. The damp of the earth seeps through where my sandal has worn thin. The water enters the broad expanse and begins its slow spread, filling the low places first, the small hollows the eye cannot quite see from standing height. It rises by increments so slight that I have to choose a fixed point, a rice stem, an air bubble at the surface, and watch it over time to detect the change at all. The sky is deeper now. The gold has retreated to the ridge, and what remains overhead is a blue that holds the suggestion of purple at its far edge, the first real sign of evening rather than late afternoon. The reflected clouds drift across the water's surface slower than the actual clouds above, as though the paddy is imagining them at a gentler pace. Midges thread the air just above the flooded field, too small to see clearly, visible only as a slight trembling in the space between things. The smell of wet soil is stronger now, complex and layered. The greenness of the rice, the mineral depth of damp clay, the faint sweetness of water that has traveled through roots and stone. My sleeve hem has gone damp where I knelt at the earlier gate, and I feel it now against my wrist, a cool weight that is oddly comforting. The stone beneath me gives up its last warmth gradually. I make no move to hurry the water. It takes longer than I expect. It takes exactly as long as it takes. When the overflow finally forms at the far lip, it feels less like a delay ending and more like a sentence finding its close. I rise. My legs have stiffened, and my sandals are edged with mud, and the paddle is dark against the dimming sky. I follow the silver thread down. The lower terraces come quickly now, but the dusk has deepened into something closer to blue dark. The paths are narrower, the banks softer, and I move too quickly once, and feel the earth give slightly under my foot. I stop. I breathe. I set my weight more carefully, and feel the bank firm up beneath me. The frogs have begun below, their calling rhythmic and full, filling the lower air the way water fills a bowl. The insect sound has changed too, thicker, more continuous, a hum rather than a threading. I kneel at the next outlet. Silt has rounded the notch, filling in the clean angle the water needs to spill. I shape it with my fingers, pressing the mud back into a firm edge, feeling the texture, the cool seep, the way the bank holds together when it is handled with care and falls apart when it is not. The water finds the line I have cleared and follows it down, its sound lower now, a murmur rather than a rush. I am reading the water more by touch and sound than by sight. The blue dimness has leveled all the color, but it has sharpened everything else. I can hear when a field is filling, and when it is full, the entering sound opens and freshens, and the settling sound closes and deepens, and the overflow makes its own particular whisper, quiet enough that I have to be quiet myself to catch it. I can feel the temperature shift when a terrace surface turns from disturbed to still. The air just above moving water is fractionally warmer than the air above glass. At the last two gates there is very little light left on the path. The cedar paddle is slick and familiar in my grip, the handle worn to the shape of many evenings. I lift each gate and stay with it, present for the full sound sequence, the entering rush, the settling hush, the first thin whisper of overflow. I do not try to reach the lowest terrace ahead of the water. I let it arrive in its own order, as it has arrived in every order since long before tonight. Below, the village holds its ordinary evening. One lamp, perhaps two, warm amber behind paper or cloth, a dog's bark flattened by distance. the sound of cookware, soft as small stones shifting in a current. These sounds do not pull me from the terrace path. They remind me that this water is part of something wider, that the irrigation completing itself around my muddy sandals will feed a harvest that feeds those lights below. I am not alone in the work tonight, only alone on the path. The lowest terrace begins to fill. I do not move on. I remain where the evening is finishing its work, standing at the field's edge with the paddle resting dark against my leg. The water spreads slowly across the wide, shallow bowl, seeking its level with the patience of water that has come a long way and knows the ground. The surface trembles as the entry continues, then steadies as the inlet slows, and the ripples flatten one by one until the terrace holds what the sky has become, a deep blue vault, a pale smear of cloud, and the first star, small and certain, burning in the water below before I have thought to look for it above. Another star follows, then another. The rice shoots stand through the reflection, dark and slender, rooted in what they have been given. The frogs below weave their rhythm into a continuous low song, unhurried, unchanged by whether I am listening or not. The water continues to move through the channels I have opened, terrace to terrace, always finding where it is needed. It does not rest, but it is never in a hurry about any of it. My feet are cool in the mud. My sleeve is damp at the wrist. The paddle is a quiet weight in my hand. The evening has completed what the afternoon began, and there is nothing left to count and nothing left to be ahead of. The star in the water sharpens. The rice shoots stand. The last ripple reaches the far bank and does not return. I breathe with the stillness of the field, and the field breathes with the stillness of the mountain, and somewhere below, a lamp adds its small warmth to the dark, and the water holds all of it, sky and root and light, the way it has always held what it is given. Thank you for spending this time with the Night Sky Reader. May your night be peaceful. Until next time, rest well.